Hey, Hill Campers, how you doing? This is Sharon with UCDI Leadership. Yeah, and Knowledge and Nonsense too. But it is Monday, a little bit just past 6:30, and I wanted to share with you guys for about 10 minutes, different things about tough conversations. Why, you may ask? Because coming off of the election, coming off of just a year where emotions were heightened and people's sense and sensibilities were easily triggered or touched or offended. I mean, if we're honest, there are things that we may not say offended us, but maybe we were a little offended or something like that. And so now we're in this year where it can still be like that, but also there are going to be more conversations about understanding. There are going to be more conversations about empathy. There are going to be more conversations trying to get a connection or restore a connection that many of us lost over this past year with people that, and you didn't expect it, whether it was a business deal that just kind of fell by the wayside, or whether it was a relationship and someone that you knew or thought you knew for years and years, and now something like something has happened to shift that. And so I just want to share just a little information because yeah, it's just time, man. It's just time. It's time out for all of the arguing. It's time out for all of the making fun, wide mouth, laughing at people. Like, when did that come? When did that become socially acceptable to make fun of someone? And so I'm going to go over some things that deal with techniques you can use when it comes to having like a tough conversation or a sensitive conversation. Some conversation that may give you may give you some type of trepidation or pause, and show different ways that you can posture yourself. So the conversation isn't I win. The conversation is that both parties can come out of it better. Both parties can come out of it more elevated. The relationship, relationships go through thick and thin. The relationship can get back on the thicker side and less of the thinner side. So one of the things is, when you're going to have a conversation like that, if it just happened, that's not the best time to have the conversation. If you just read, kind of like if you just read the email that offended you, that's not the best time to respond to the email. So if it just happened, you want to give it a time, and you want to set a time to talk about it. That's okay to do. You can set a time to talk about something. Everything doesn't have to happen right now. Ask yourself, will the sky fall? Will something happen? Does this need to be decided today? That's the first thing. And then set a time to talk about it, and then set up parameters about how you're going to talk about it. If it's a business or a workplace tough conversation that does not have to do with politics or something polarized like that, it has to do with a project that is not moving, then I recommend something called DeBono's hats. That's DE, next word BONO, like from YouTube, DeBono's hats. And that's a great tool for helping you set up the parameters or set up the guidelines for a meeting. It's okay. It's okay. So you set up the guidelines for the meeting. And if it's a meeting about moving something along the project deadlines, then that's all you're discussing is deadlines and timelines. You're not brainstorming during that session, and you're not saying, well, I don't feel like it will work during that session. There are other hats that deals with those sessions. So you want to get the hat, and you want to have the understanding of what each color represents, and that helps you set a guideline. Now, why am I talking about this? And I'm going to talk about it throughout the course of this week, just like this, just me talking to my group and to my personal page, because again, I am ready, so ready for relationships kind of to find an even keel and hopefully be restored. I don't know who said, if you don't agree with me, that relationships can't keep going. That's not true at all. You don't have to agree with me on everything for us to have a relationship. What? That's control, that's manipulation, that's exhausting, is what it is. And so if we can't be friends because we don't agree on everything, then I submit to you, we were never friends in the beginning. And if you find that in your relationships with other people, that's good information for you to know. And you want to have a conversation about it. You cannot expect someone to know what you don't say. They should have known. No, get past that. Should works with computer systems and other systems, but people, when you're like, well, they should have known, that assumes that they have your grid, your perspective, your common sense, your upbringing, all of this, what they should have done. And that's really giving yourself a pass, because if you say they should have known, then you don't have to have the hard conversation. Oh, I know it hurts, but I'm telling you the truth. And so when it comes to receiving tough questions and having tough conversations, the first thing I want to share with you, and I'm going to let you go. I'll share some more either tomorrow morning or sometime Wednesday, because I have another show that I do on Tuesdays and Saturdays. So it's either going to have to be early in the morning or sometimes Wednesday. But the first thing is you want to set guidelines about when the question will be answered and guidelines about what's acceptable in this part. Name calling is not acceptable. Blame is not acceptable. Be solution oriented. And if that means you point to a process or a perspective or a paradigm that is problematic, then that's fine. But telling somebody you are wrong, or them telling you you are wrong, like, that's blame. If you're still in the fault finding section, then that conversation, as it relates to people, if you feel still fault finding with people, that conversation isn't going to be that productive, and it's not really going to move that relationship into a healthy space or into a space that's constructive for you guys to continue to get to the thick side and more so out of the thin side. And, like I said, I know right now some people are like, well, I don't care. I don't like anybody. They didn't vote here, or they shouldn't have done this or whatever. I promise you, that's only going to hurt your heart. That is not going to be sustainable long term, and it doesn't bring joy, health, or healing to you. To wish evil on somebody else, that's sucking the life out of you. And so that's the first part. Tomorrow, we'll talk about making sure that we're both talking about the same things, which means you're going to have to repeat. Let me repeat what I'm hearing you say in my own words, because sometimes our definition of a word, I can say, let me tell you what I think you're saying about this bottle of water. But if we don't have the same definition of water, you'll say, yeah, that's what I mean. And I may think you mean something else, because to me, water may indicate something with the Holy Spirit, and to you, water may indicate something that quenches thirst. So you want to be sure that you're repeating questions back so you understand, and you do it in your own language, not just repeating verbatim what someone else said, because if you have a different connotation or a different understanding of any words, then the semantics will be all jacked up. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for sharing this time with me. We're just under 8 minutes. If you have any questions or you want to get on my mailing list, just www.UCDI Leadership, or go to info@UCDI Leadership. Yeah, please be kind to somebody, be nice to somebody, not for wealth or fame, but because it's a good thing to do. And make sure any celebrations you have are not at the mercy of someone else. There's no grace in that. There's no class in that. And ultimately, you're embodying something that you probably wouldn't like. If you wouldn't like it, if it's done to you, then there's no reason for us to do it to someone else. Last thing on that, what you give license to, you give liberty to. So if you're licensing it, even though you may be on what you consider the victorious side right now, understand you're giving liberty to that same principle, that same mindset, that same perspective, that same practice when you're not on the best side of it. All right. Y'all be safe. God bless. And I hope that this helps you with the tough questions and tough discussions. Please don't shy away from them. Talk to you guys later.